got it as well for ourselves, just so we like to sort of make sure that we even if we do talk shit, then we'll at least record it, and we can go back and work out,
That's fine.
that it was accurate, and yeah, we'll go through that. So you probably know just maybe let's do a couple of before we. I will share the screen, but before we jump into it, let's do a quick introduction, and maybe you and I
Yep.
had a bit of a chat the other day, Danny. So I'm sort of 7 or 8 years in running a social media marketing business. Now have
Yep.
some marketers across Melbourne and then in the other states. We've been doing this for a while. I love it. Realistically, just on my missus, I met her when I did go back and do a master's in marketing back in 2010. So for a while, that looked like it was going to be the best thing about doing the new study. But anyway, so that was good. Anthony, do you just want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I've been at Dify Social with Steve for the last 8 or 9 months now. I graduated in 2019 in business marketing and learning the ropes with the social media marketing and loving it so far.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just in summary. Yep.
And I think I do. So tell us a little bit about your journey, around with this now, Danny, because this looks relatively new. Would that be fair to say? Or
It is new. So I set one up in 2011. So my background is investigations and ID verification, things like that. So I don't have an IT background, but I have ideas.
Yep.
So I set one up in 2011. It was acquired by Vita, which is Equifax.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went off and set up another one, and I sold it to Dun & Bradstreet in 2017. And now I'm doing this one, and I've started to pick up traction and market share already in 3 months. So
yeah, right.
what I'm trying to do, that's with the corporates.
Yep.
But there's a big market out there for people that just want to know information on, who they're looking for. People get in a car accident, they get given a number and a name. The number's disconnected. They want to check the name to see if there's no phone number. There's people that are going online now. And that's really what I want to attract. I want to attract the online dating scene where they don't know who they're talking to. So you can check my name and I can tell you I live in Eureka Tower, but then, you might think I'm full of shit, and then you go and do a search on me, but I live in North Baldwin. My address doesn't come up in Eureka. Then I've got to explain myself, if you're my date, why I told you I'm in Eureka Tower.
Yeah, right.
So it's basically just about, validating and information sharing and things like that.
And well, clearly today, I've said to Anthony in the past, I'll often get blokes that are sort of particularly blokes. Like attracts like a little bit, but blokes that maybe 10 years younger than me, 10 years older than me, that are looking to sort of build asset into the business so they cannot sell it and get out. So there's probably nothing I can tell you around that, because it sounds like you've done it, right? So you're kind of just doing it again.
I've done it a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll do it again.
Yeah, exactly. So probably this is a good one for Anthony to get a look at here, right? Because this is exactly what we talk about is right. How do we build asset into this business? It is an online business, so that's beautiful for us. So in terms of those social media channels, so that then we use them in such a way, because it's like if you're selling a house, there's no much point building asset into the house and then sell it the moment after, right? You want to then build the asset, use the asset to promote the business as best you can, so it actually makes it even more valuable. And if your intent is to get out, then ultimately it attracts some attention and people will come to you. So I guess that's the thing, and they'll make you an offer. So it's probably there's elements there, Danny, that I'd be more likely to speak to you about, is how have you managed to do that? But it's awesome that you have. Good job. So I didn't give you much chance to have a look at this. Are you okay if we just talk through this audit, and then if you've got any questions or feedback, you can let us know as we go through, right?
Sure, but that's the wrong website you've got up there.
I know that. Yeah, no, but I am going to talk about that. No, I understand that. Yeah, so I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you're aware that there's that's a slight issue, right? So yeah, let's start there, right? So clearly, the initial thing that we always do is just put in the business name. Now, in the main, you expect the business name just to come up as the business name, right? For you at the moment, we've got this clash where it's this other business, which I don't know where they're based out. I don't think they're Australian, but anyway, they are. After we'd spoke, I thought, shit, he's quick, because then I kind of went through it. I'm like, oh, look, there's already a few pictures on there, and I only just spoke to him on Wednesday. But you're right. It took me a little bit. It took me a few minutes to realise, different mob, right? You're
On the
down
second
there.
one. On the second one down
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
No,
So your ID.me. So when I realised that, I did do the search with the .me sort of sitting at the end, and then it does give up a slightly different picture, right? So all of a sudden you do pick up on the
okay.
you do pick up on this stuff, in terms of your map on the website sort of thing. But what I would say is that's a problem, right? There is an issue with that, right? In terms of how do you make it that for a start, there's certain things we can easily do, right? In terms of we can make sure that you Google My Business, we create that for you if it's not already been created. It's not coming up at the moment, right? So we need to create a Google My Business. Google owns YouTube. We create so those two search engines then know that ID for me.me is the one, right? And you really own that. The other thing I kind of wondered is, you've cut. I almost wonder, and I'll ask you sort of your decision making, your thinking around it, but I wondered whether you could almost go ID for me, find. So you actually have find at the everything, So I know it's almost the next step through find people.
Well, .find or .m. What are you talking about?
I reckon you'd almost do ID for me, find .me. I don't know, or ID for me .find, right? .find would probably be better because in a way that would then stop it from having that same clash with the other one, right? So I was, when you first, anyway, it's just thinking out loud, but I think somehow you might want to consider, and certainly if we were posting and when we're posting, we would always be including what the heck is this, right? So find people reverse search. I've sort of seen, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think there is a URL sort of thing that you might want to consider because we're a social media company. We can do that, which will give you plenty of advantages on social media. But you might want to consider what the best URL might be to get away from this search clash. Because the last thing I'd hate to happen is that people go there and they're lazy. Let's face it, people are pretty lazy. They don't know that they're going to go to the right one or not, right? So it needs to be very clear that that's not you, right? So there's some things that we can do around that. It is interesting. So when we do put ID for me, clearly that competitor gets reversed, right? So they become the second sort of most thing. But then your socials are actually the strongest things that are already showing up in a search capacity.
I don't have any.
Well, you do. Well, they're there. So you've got this ID for me.me.
That's right.
So there's Facebook. There's an ID for me Instagram, and then you personally as Danny come up as well, right? So so anyway, that's why we look at that search in the first place. It's not often with certain businesses, you've got ads sitting over the top. In your case, it's not the sort of business that's going to have that sort of thing. I don't think.
No, that's right. That's right.
So again, I know this isn't your website, but there is actually, when I jumped on initially, I thought, oh shit, he's done a bit of work here, and then I realized wrong logo and stuff. There's an element of putting yours across something like this, some sort of picture. I reckon it'd be easy for you in terms of, for me, what I have a mind map around. You're an investigator, right? Those sort of those sort of images where they just have shitloads of people's pictures, right? Lots of little pictures. We do it a little bit with our clients, right? I'd almost have like every geographic sort of just merged into one sort of picture that, every ethnicity, every race, every color, age, all that sort of stuff. And, and it would just be a picture that across the top of the picture, you'd then put your search. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So, because as I said to you before, and then those little pictures could underpin all your different pages. So that could be a collection of all the different pictures of all the different types of people.
I just got squares of people's faces.
Yeah, I think so.
In all different nationalities. That's sort of pretty good way to go ahead. Yeah, that to me, I could do that in pretty much today once my developers know what they need to do.
So we use, and look, there's not necessarily, we use a thing and for you to just have a look at if you want to be aware of it. But basically, there's plenty of these sort of sites. Unsplash is one of them, right? But if you just put in something in here that just said people, I imagine you're going to get, it's up to you. You could do 100, you could do 20, you could do a dozen. I think I like the idea, because people's going to be interesting, right? So, because the other thing is you might want to just do something along this sort of line, right?
You've got to understand, in my industry, there's a lot of cliche when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is get away
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're looking at it from a different mind than I'm looking at it, and I appreciate what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, people used to do it in the past and put like a whole lot of penguins. I used to put Mexico City as a backdrop.
Oh, yeah.
But in my old businesses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my way of thinking is just, as I said to you the other day, we've got to break it down so you don't look like a poor man's Google, right? So at the moment, it looks a little bit, if we're going to use a social strategy, we need to bring you just mentioned dating. I think last time you talked about something else. I can't remember what it was. Maybe, what did we talk about?
Debt collection.
Debt collection you talked about, right?
Huge.
Yeah. So then you've got, all sorts of small business owner type things you could put in there as well, But more's the point. So I'd like to, as you said, with your web person. So it could be one cover. It doesn't have to be hard. It just as you said, sorry, it just brings back up. It just has to be done in such a way that that it just brings the human in, right? Because I'll explain for you in a second, right? So I just think, and Anthony, you can chime in any time, right? But for me, you put something behind this, and then you're adding images throughout the website. You start to bring in the human element, and we want to see the sort of people that we're looking for. All right.
Can you put testimonials on that too, or not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, that would just be another sort of tab. I mean, that's the sort of thing that you'd put in. You'd put in as a. We often sort of so the way you've done this is actually good because in terms of the logical sequence, and even this buttons, I think we were sort of saying the other day, it's good. These buttons are they clickable? I can't remember. Anyway,
you're clicking on.
They clickable, aren't they? Because I was talking about trying to get it from here, wasn't I? But yeah, you'd basically, you might have to shrink it down to make it fit a little bit, or maybe this goes over to the left, but maybe. Where you've got what is about, you could either have it as another tab that just says testimonials, or you create it as a testimonials type. Usually the way we tend to read websites is you work across, right? You talk about why and what, which is what you're doing. Perfect. You got partners there, and then you perhaps talk about about and testimony. Often people do it reverse, but about and testimony tend to go together, right? So. One of it, when you're talking about, it's often us saying how shit hot we are. But when you're talking testimony, it's others saying how hot you are, right?
Yes.
So that's the difference. So yeah, definitely.
I've got clients that allow me to use their logos too, which is good.
They have, awesome. And so we've been taught to read websites like this, and yours isn't complex, right? So yours is simple and straight to the point. What you need to do, as I said, we've already talked about just bringing in the people element. Your call to action and your explanation, rather than being your tagline. As I said, your tagline is just find, which is actually good when you then go here, you go people search engine. Okay, search for anybody. It makes sense to me straight away because I can read it, right? So, but we would always put that in a post. We wouldn't put that on imagery on social media, just so you know. I've seen a few. We'll get to that in a second, and you've already said you've probably not been using it in a particular way. But yeah, the reality is find is probably a little short as a just do it sort of tagline. I liked your reverse find. Somewhere I read reverse find. It was on a picture. We'll see it in a second, right?
Up there. It's up the top there on the tab.
Oh yeah, reverse search. Yeah. Yeah, so it could almost be people find people, or maybe it's just find people. Maybe it's just find people. ID for me, find people. You know what I mean? That's all you want to do. You want to find people. That's probably the only word missing there, I reckon. So anyway.
I need to sort of give you some background. I used to have reverse search as a business owner. When the corporates, when I got the banks on board, they made me change it. Right. So the banks, they're not. That's what they would like. They would like ID for me find. As soon as you start putting people and reverse, they run away. They don't want it. They won't do it. You know what I mean? They get their I don't know. They just don't like certain terms and certain words. So I've got to look at my clients also.
Just do you just on the website, because I think I've got it open over here. Yeah. Do you have a privacy policy on this?
Yeah, down the bottom there.
You do, yeah. Okay. I was going to say that would have to be a main consideration for you, right? Because particularly when you're down the bottom. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now that's great. That's a really important thing for what you're doing, I reckon. All right, no worries. Yep, sweet. No, that's all good. Again, as I said,
I have a lot of compliance. You got to understand, in this business, they won't sign up unless all the compliance is met and everything else. We're not selling a product like
Yeah, I understand it. No, so as I said, there's just some things we could do. So at the moment, because as you said, you don't feel like you are on social, there are some things you could do, right? So
I will. What I'll do is I'll get some images put over that, and I'll give them to you for your approval.
Yeah. Well, you just, as I said, often it's a bit of tail and dog, right? And then the other thing is what you want to do is potentially social proof this website, right? By you've got your free demo, which is a good call to action button. I don't know how this website. Do you know if it's a WordPress website? What sort of website is it?
I have no idea.
No idea. Is your web person good?
Yeah, they're good. They're pretty good.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
well, depending on what sort of,
probably go version 2 would be a bit different to this, but
Yeah, depending on what platform. Generally, you might even be able to add a little bar up the top that actually has all the little social proofing type icons. I'll just show you what that looks like. This sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And then these should open into new things, and it just helps you proofing. And then you might also want to consider having some plugins, which again are pretty straightforward for web people. Just around, if we're going to be posting on a regular basis, basically having this sort of stuff so people can see who's following it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just that we haven't.
Yeah, that's right. So it's early doors, so that's all good. All right, so that's the website. There's some improvements, but generally speaking, the information there, Anthony, is really solid, right? It's just making it more, bringing in the real life sort of stuff. I love your photo, mate. What was this from? This is awesome.
Census digital at in the birdcage, Melbourne Cup. When we could go.
Are you into horse racing?
No, I'm not really. I'm just into, if clients want to give me a drink, I'll go and have a drink.
Entertain you, yeah. No, I was actually in the owners and trainers ring at Caulfield on the weekend, but I work there. When I went back and studied, I got my security license, so I work at the MCG and Caulfield on occasion. Yeah. So it was quite good. I got paid to hobnob.
Yeah.
So on here, just so you know, Danny, I like this photo, and even that you've got something here, that's better than many. We could make this a much better calling card for you. I see you're paying for it. You probably you could buy me lunch every month if you like and save the money. But we'll make sure that this is better, and we perhaps get
the reason I have that is so I can see who's viewing me, and I know if clients have gone onto my system.
And look, realistically, you can. I think you basically, as I said, if that works for you, that's good. We'll do that. You can see who's viewing you anyway, but you can get the fullness of it, can't you, if you actually do it that way? Yeah. So all good. Yep. But we'll make sure you'd be the all-star representative of your business on LinkedIn. This was here already, so So did you set this up? You've set that up, yeah? So,
I did it. Yeah.
And this has got your square logo. This is the logo you should be using on everything, right? So there's other ones that you've not, but this one you've used it right. So this is the place for your logo. This is where saw that reverse. I actually quite like that. It kind of makes you think.
Okay.
See what they've done there, Anthony?
Reverse search anything.
Yeah, that's clever. That I was going to put sick after it, but then I thought, no, it's not sick because it's intended, right? Anyway, but we would in your cover here. When I see a cover like this, you know what it makes me think, that it's got something to do with social media, right? So we'd make sure it was a better, we talk to you and we consider what would be a better visual representation for your business. And again, this is the one that we post through, right? So that when we post through. And again, apologies if there's anything that I'm telling you how to suck eggs and you might have done it or seen it before.
No, I'm happy with what you're saying.
Yeah, just so you understand, is we use Hootsuite. We post through the 4 social media networking sites, right? Either daily or every second day. So that includes your LinkedIn company. I might have said to you the other day, we're getting better organic reach on our LinkedIn company now than we do on our Facebook. So that's the first thing. We post through your Facebook and to your Instagram. Pretty much they're one and the same, and we generally use photo imagery. I did see you've got a video, and that would be great for us to promote, right? So if you've got that video would probably work really well as something you'd do as an ad campaign. Yeah, I did see that, so that's good. Yeah. And that could be prominent, right? And then Twitter, we use a little hack to get your Instagram post going through to Twitter as well, so that you're not having to pay for Hootsuite. It's just a nice.
I don't think I have a Twitter account.
No, we'd have to create that. Correct. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Good dogs. Yep. So up here, for now, given what you have, at least there is consistency around your website. You know it's the same mob, right? So given when you have got a competitor that has the same name, it probably doesn't hurt to have that sort of image. But this one, this is where I knew I'd seen somewhere where this should actually be your logo, right? So this is where straight away there's a little bit of confusion there, but that's your logo. That doesn't need another graphic type image, right? And then we post, as I said, we either post daily or every second day, and we report monthly or every second month in terms of how you're doing. Similarly, on your Instagram, I did find this, and Instagram just needs your proper logo. And again, I don't think there's been much activity other than the video, right? So we'd be posting on a regular basis.
So if you look at my link, that's Instagram.
Yeah, that was Instagram, that one. Yeah.
If you look at my users, I've got 7,072.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, what's going on there? Did you buy?
I had another business and I changed the name on the.
You.
But it's all right. It's okay. They're all young people, so you know.
Are they? Is it a line though? Is it going to be the same mob? Is it the same community?
There used to be restaurants.
No, it's going to be pretty shit then. But anyway, it's all right.
It doesn't matter.
No, don't get rid of it. No, I don't think that at all. But you know what? The reason I say that, I made the mistake once. I was working with a, they were Vietnamese actually. What do you call foot doctor? Podiatrist. That's the one. Anyway, podiatrists, right? And anyway, they've got 3,000 followers, but it's on Facebook. I'm thinking, that's pretty impressive. And it took me about a month to realise that these followers they had, there was actually only 30 in Melbourne, let alone Footscray. The rest were bloody global, and somehow they promoted it. And I'm sort of saying to them, I don't think you're going to get too many people buying your stuff or coming into the studio from, Kazakhstan or whatever, So also the funniest one on this, I'll tell this for Anthony more than you, Danny, but I once had someone that they were it was actually Melbourne Careers Expo, right? Melbourne Careers Expo, we've done one of these. And it was Twitter. They had 8,000 followers. I'm like, what the hell? And they said, we thought you'd be impressed by that. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty wild. And then they said, we bought a bucket for $5. I'm like, yeah, well, they're worth nothing then.
Yeah, they're worth nothing.
And not too many people are going to come to your expo.
These were organic, and these were we had a social media agency working with us back then.
Okay, cool. All right. So, but anyway, no, you wouldn't get rid of it, but it's worth us knowing because it just means that, so it's a nice vanity to have. It's just, we'll just realign it. We'll see. I guess on the positive side.
So are you changing would you do the images and all that on that or?
Yeah, once you tell us so we do that in the setup and planning session. Correct. That's a 3 + 2 hour day. So it's a 5 hour day that we work together. And people are, you'll be exhausted by the end of it, but you'll have tidied up your entire car and you'll be beating your chest. And so will Anthony, right? We get pretty pumped about it, right? Because it does look good, and we immediately know what we're going to say.
Do we get together for that, or is it just done like this?
We found it's actually. What we'll do by the end of this is just check that you can share your screen, but we found this a lot better, right? So Anthony's sitting up there in Epping. I'm here in Footscray. You're up in the Eureka Tower. This way we can record it. And it's a lot, no one's having to travel, get city parking and that sort of stuff. In the past, I did it all like that, Danny, right? In fact, in the past, I would have said to you I needed to do that, right, to explain it to people. But since COVID, I've realised I don't. It's actually, this is better.
COVID has helped us all realise we can work in different environments.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. The first bloke that I ever worked with was an air conditioning mob based in Tottenham out the back here where I am, probably less than 3 Ks from where I live. And literally, Anthony, you know this person, I think, but he could share his screen, but he couldn't get any audio or video. So he actually spent the whole 5 hours. I think we split the session, but he was on his mobile phone and sharing his screen. So I figured, shit, because it's pretty early, right? And I'm thinking, shit, if I could do a bloke in Tottenham that has no, really technology wasn't his forte. I said I could probably just as easily do a bloke in Tottenham in UK using this. You know what I mean? So anyway, so all good. Yeah. So Twitter, we would create that for you. The other ones, we'd revise them, right? And similarly with your YouTube. So we talked about creating your Google My Business, which is how you get your reviews and where we point people. But with your YouTube at the moment, you've put this to you personally, right? So this is, I don't know what this is actually, Sphero A1 Lead.
Oh, that's just another business that we have.
Okay, yeah. So basically,
I don't know why that's gone there.
So that's where it's been loaded to. We'd basically create your brand company, which would be ID for me, and you'd basically share
I think
the relevant ones.
There is an ID for me. There should be an ID for me YouTube channel.
Maybe. Yeah, there should be. This is where I found them, so I don't know.
That's weird.
It is weird. Okay. I can have a look, but anyway, whatever. That'd be something for you to check. I mean, we do give a checklist to sort of say, look, if you think you've got it, but I couldn't find it. Let me just have one more look while we're here, right? So, give me 1 second. How are we tracking, Anthony? We going all right?
Yeah, going great.
Me and Anthony love Fridays.
Yeah. What are you up to after this?
Having a beer.
You're a clock by what time's that? Hey, you're not supposed to say that to me. Not when we got clients in the room.
That doesn't matter.
No, he does. We do tend to figure that Friday afternoon is not necessarily the best time for doing anything other than having a bit of a chat with people. That's
right.
Yeah. That's our dedicated day.
Yeah. So
do you go to a local watering hole?
Nah.
We haven't. We've had a few. So up until December, Anthony, as he said, he's been with me since July. But up until when did we first catch up? I think we went into Port Melbourne, and there's a place we go there, right, just near. It's called what is it called? Third wave.
Third wave. Yeah.
In South Melbourne, there. Did you know that one? They just moved from Port Melbourne, actually.
No. Is it on the beach there?
Near the beach, yeah. It's in a good spot now, actually.
Third Wave Cafe. Yeah, that was until the end of November. Our first catch up, or start of December.
Oh, so it's all under that. Oh, there you go. What's this ID for me?
Yeah, so it seems to be all under your name. Yeah. And so we'll correct that. As I said, that's just a matter of knowing how to get in under your name, and then we can create a brand name, and then we just put it over there instead.
That other thing keeps getting in there. This one here, the other ID for me.
Yeah. As I said, that's where we kind of I literally, as I said, would put ID for me -find, right, so that it actually does. Yeah, it does make that point of difference, right? Because otherwise, you're right, and I don't know where they are. And they haven't got many subscribers. In fact, you've probably got more subscribers than they. The good thing for you, they don't look that. I don't know if they're much chop. So they've done a reasonable job with some of their profiles. I wouldn't criticize that, but anyway, we can take them down. Me and Anthony are pretty competitive, so we always want to make sure that anybody we're working with are doing it much better than anybody that even looks a bit like a rival. I don't even know if they do the same thing. Do you know much of them?
No, they don't. There's software. There's software development.
Yeah, so they're not doing the same thing. It's just a matter
of doing the same thing at all. Although, if you guys start posting and we start getting out there, we'll be way above them on the ranking.
Correct. So. Yeah. Sweet. So you probably didn't have much time to have a look at this. And what we normally do is start at the back. And I may.
Did you send me that?
I did send you this. Yeah. So did you see this already?
No.
You haven't seen it yet. So it is in your email. I just did a reply all to the invite that I sent out this morning. So I only sent it late. This actually often takes a bit of time to load. So give me 1 second. I'm going to grab just an image. And by the time I get the image, normally the other thing loads. Bear with me. There we go. Yeah, so this is it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so let me just explain this. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but just say, and if you've got any questions, just ask us, right? But social media. So what marketers call marketing, business people just call business, right? But technically speaking, me and Anthony are both marketers, but we're using social media marketing communications, which is what most business people call marketing, right? So they tend to just call it communications.
Yep.
So we set up the top, with SEO, traditional marketing communication, with business networking, we do a lot of that. I think you mentioned someone referred us to you, or you found me somehow.
They did.
Yeah, and so we do a lot of that business networking. Anthony and I and the other marketers are part of business networks, because often to try and explain what we do to a 40-something, it gets put in the whole online digital. And I imagine you'd have the same sort of issues at times and would have in the past, right? To actually explain that to many people, because it's technical, right? Yeah. And so they get a bit confused. But anyway, we set up the top of the business/marketing house, right? So ultimately, in other words, you've created and sold. This will be your third, right? So we don't need to tell you that you know how to do that, yeah? So what you can tell me whether I'm on the right path here. Ultimately, the success comes down to knowing who your customer is, so you can actually get your communications and get them in there. And even if it's knowing that you've got a potential customer for buying the business, because maybe you make yourself attractive to those people that are going to want to buy something that you create, right? So that's more a secondary customer and a bigger customer, right?
Yep.
So then you've got, so in other words, it was a bit like you explained to me before, and those couple of different personas. It might be the dating type ones, it could be the debt collector type ones, and there could be a whole range of other types of people, right?
Yep.
That you're trying to get in front of this. So you want your offer to be pretty attractive, because it's simple, right? So basically, you go in here, you put somebody's email, and we're just educating how you use the thing, and how does it work how do you make money from this?
So it's a licensed product.
Yep.
So they pay per seat per month.
Yep.
Or they can just go for 48 hours for $10.
Right.
But so that'll be changing soon.
And I think there's a bit of a trial demo. Is that right? Is that sort of thing too?
No, that's just that's just a call to action if someone wants to learn how to use it. Not many people use that.
Okay. So ideally, so does that mean you got two types of clients, right? You got a corporate client that's going to pay for a whole stack, yeah?
Yep.
And then you've got Anthony's. Well, no, I'm not going to use Anthony because he's got a lovely partner. But anyway,
Anthony's owed money by a mate of his has disappeared.
Okay, so he might.
That's really the bigger scenario.
So he might just do, but then if a mate's disappeared, so he might just do the $10 thing and just do a quick.
Correct. And a lot of people do it for relatives. They're trying to find their relatives for a wedding. There's a lot of different reasons people will search.
Yeah. And Anthony wouldn't know this, right? But I was saying this to Danny the other day. But when I was in the UK and then I came back to Australia, and back in the day, if you lost your little book with people's phone numbers and emails or their addresses, right, you didn't. There was no way you were ever going to be able to find them again, right? The good thing for us was that Facebook and LinkedIn and other things started to turn up, right? Because then you could find it. But would that be right to say, Danny?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. You just couldn't find these people.
How old are you, Anthony?
I'm 23.
Oh, mate.
But
I'm 51. Steve, how old are you?
Yeah, I've got you covered. That's what I'm going to tell you.
All right.
If you follow your footy, do you follow footy?
We used to have those, those phone things the books where you put A to Z, the marker that you used to do, and then you used to press a button and it'd flip open with the people that you had written in there under A, for instance.
Yeah, my parents had one of those.
That was awesome.
I reckon I've still got it with my Lonely Planet book. I reckon I've still got a little red book, right, with people's names, family and stuff like that. Yeah, even my parents moved twice while I was overseas. So it's like even that you had to keep it for, right? So email was a big thing, but then the main thing was just having, writing Christmas cards, right? Back in the day. Danny, I did ask you, wanting to know, do you follow your footy or what's your sport? Do you have
I'm a Collingwood supporter, mate.
You're pie, jeepers. Yeah. So there you go. So we've got some pretty ugly sort of relationships happening here. I'm a son of the West. I'm Bulldogs into Fremantle, but then got Anthony's. He's your nemesis. He's with Daisy Thomas and Nick Malthouse, right? So he's on Team Blues. And but what I was going to say to you before, I was born the year St Kilda won their premiership, but I wasn't alive yet.
Their only premiership.
Yeah, exactly. So
you were in the.
That's my age. All right. So anyway, jeepers, we went off on track there. But anyway, so basically, it's knowing your customer, knowing what makes you unique. You got a unique, and you got that covered to the. We talked a little bit before about, particularly with content marketing for social media. It's what you say and what you look like, right? So that's all it is. Content marketing, copywriting, imagery. So then we do want to make you. We talked a little bit, make you top of the pops when it comes to being representative for your business. But all this stuff down here is all about the business, not about you. People often get confused around personal brand and business brand, right? We don't do personal brand other than get you all star. So it's all about you and your business. Then, your networking. Your network isn't just your purchasers or your clients. There's a whole range of other networks. If Census is inviting you along to things, well, they're part of your network, right? So that sort of stuff. If there's other rivals or other people trying to do it, I've said to you already, even if they're just named the same as you, we just want to make sure particularly your social media is better than what they're doing, right? And we know that your customers, so in other words, particularly at that corporate end, well, they're going to look like what they've always looked like. So they're the ones we're going to be targeting, and we do that so we talk about long tail, short tail. Long tail is basically we're posting on a daily basis, and you've got people attracted to it that are going to see it because they start following it, they know you, and they're going to tell other people about you. That's long tail. Short tail is we're going to do Facebook advertising, Facebook ads, Instagram. We're going to promote the video. We're going to promote whatever it is that makes it clear to them why they should have your product, right? And then we put in, okay, they're the CEO at this business. They're the whatever the manager. They're a debt collector. I don't know. You know what I mean? You'll tell us a few of those sort of things to put into the ads manager side of stuff. That makes sense? Yeah. And then we use a strategy where we don't make shit up, right? So we've already talked about how we like to see websites set up. But basically, we take information from your website and we share it particularly down to these 4 sites, right? These numbers growing all the time, but effectively, more than 16 million on Facebook, more than 5.5 million on LinkedIn, more than 9 million on Instagram, and 5.5 on Twitter, right? And then, as I said, we set you up on your Google My Business and YouTube, and we will, depending on how often we're reporting, we'll still do a post to Google My Business just because it's Google. At the end of the day, and we get insights from Google in terms of how many people are looking for you, right? So we know your insights once we've set up your Google My Business. We know that bugger all people use a social media marketing and Facebook advertising strategy from a business perspective, right? So less than 50% have an even Facebook page, and you'd be included in that count, right? Because you do have a page. But of that 50%, less than 30% have ever advertised. So then you're talking a very, very small percentage of people that are likely to get any value out of social media marketing, right? Long tail, short tail. And ultimately, we have a one-off cost for that setup and planning day where we're setting everything up. And then it's just a management. We either manage at $242 or we manage at $374 a month. And that's just the difference between posting every second day and reporting every second month, which is your $242. Those sort of clients, the reason we offer that is because we don't want them to scrimp on the $5 a day minimum sort of advertising we suggest they spend, right? But here's the thing. We kind of know that if they, if the $5 a day working for them, then they spend more, right? That's the obvious thing, right? So that's, and I don't like the language, but realistically, that's what creates the lead type mentality, right? Because that's what's happening. And then ultimately, we want to hear you telling us, Ollie, more people are using it, and more, and we're acquiring more new people, right? So you get retention and new, and that's your return on investment. So that's the model, right? So any questions around that? Let's see if this other one is loaded now.
No, I'm pretty clear with that. The investment, the $5 a day thing. I mean, what is that? Like, is it going to Facebook?
Yeah, so basically, so we use Facebook Ads Manager. So essentially, you pay that directly to Mark Zuckerberg. We just make sure you don't blow your budget, basically. So we,
I'm not a fan of SEO, to be honest. So
not SEO. It's not SEO, but in fact, the reality is, in fact, I just talked about it today. It's what most people don't understand, right? Post-COVID, realistically, we're getting 2012 value for $1 nowadays, right? So we've got one business. It's called Awards Australia that we only started with 2 weeks ago. We basically started advertising 1 week ago. Their page got shut down on Wednesday. We had to speak to Facebook Ads Manager to get it pulled back up again because their major sponsor is 7 News, right? But, we've got a bit of capacity around the fact that I've been advertising for probably 7 years and have spent a reasonable amount of money, including initially with Melbourne Tigers, right, who then became Melbourne United. But realistically, that's not to sort of from an ego perspective, but there is that element of like, good luck if you're trying to speak to Facebook and you're not advertising and or dealing with someone that deals with them pretty regularly, right?
Okay.
So they're pretty hard to get down, and particularly if they're pissed off at people, so, which they are with the Australian government at the moment.
So is it $5 per social media channel? So is it like $20
No.
a day, or how does it work?
So by way of example, so Facebook owns Instagram, right? So
no, just tell me. I just want to know. I don't understand all that. What's my costs to use the service?
Yeah, to use that service, we recommend. We don't make anybody do anything, right, that they don't want to do. But we certainly encourage people to spend $1 because effectively, funnily, and anyway, I'm not going to go over there. But anyway,
hey, give me the rundown.
Yeah, so I'll give you the rundown. Let's use one example, right? So, Anthony,
just so I understand. So I'm using you to do the posting.
Yeah.
That's a monthly cost of $374
if it's daily posting, right? So that's going across.
So do we go daily? What do you recommend?
With your business, well, again, it depends on how you feel about your spend, right? So realistically, if you're feeling like you want to start at 242 and just have every second month reporting and then do your $5 a day advertising because that's more in your budget, then do that.
So I'll do the 374. I believe in getting the best value out of everything. So
you can always turn it back down
because right? I've got ID for me with real estate coming up soon and all that. So we're going to be doing a lot more stuff on that site.
Yeah.
It's not just what you're saying. We're only 3 months in, so
yeah. So what I just wanted to show you one thing, right? So it's just the thing is, as I said, I would rather have someone. So firstly, I think that's a wise way to go. I think you've got enough information. We can always source photos ourselves if you don't while you're getting them together. Anthony does that for this client, I think, Anthony, right? In fact, this client's quite similar to you in many ways, right? Technology client, right? Yeah. They've got this video running at the moment. I don't know how long this has been on, Anthony. This was posted end of January, so we're getting 26 days, right? This has had 4,500 getting up their engagements, 9,000. We're spending probably $5 a day on this, I think, on awareness and basically, Anthony. And you can see that our engagements are. This is like this sort of stuff makes me want to swear because I'm pretty excited, right? Because
that's
look,
awesome.
15,000 engagement, 26,000 reach, right?
And that's global.
Well, no, because we want to target our audience, right? So people, it's like how do you eat an elephant, and that's something you need to think about, and we talk about in the planning session, right? A lot of people and he was so in actual fact, this is a very defined audience. He's going to manufacturers, I think, and construction, Anthony, from memory, right? Because that's what construction and manufacturing, that's who this is targeting. And he's going to Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide, I think, right? Because the reality is, yes, you could go global, but not at $5 a day. It'll take you a long time to get to everybody, right? So we target and build out, right? So we try and make the target audience something that you can get to in the first place. In his case, it might be $250,000 in Melbourne. It might be $250,000 in Sydney. So it might be bigger than many of our clients. So if you're only a Melbourne-based business and you're a shop front, then clearly we generally won't have a target audience bigger than $250,000 because your target audience is unlikely to be anywhere near like that, right? So we want to make this haystack.
Our target audience is through all the businesses and all the individuals out there looking for someone.
Yeah. You have got
78,000 single women in Melbourne CBD.
Yeah. So I think, as you said, I believe you've got a primary, and we talk about this more in the planning session, but I think you've got a primary and a secondary audience. I think your primary audience isn't actually the dating people. I think your primary audience is actually the corporates that want to tell me if I'm wrong, but that's who we target in the first place, right? And anyway, we talked to you a little bit around how we use LinkedIn probably powerfully there for you as well. All right, just so today I've said to you already, today's $374 and the order, because it takes us about an hour to do and an hour to sort of go through what we've gone through already, right? But we don't hit you up for that. In other words, we don't put the invoice. We put it on the invoice, but we give 100% discount on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
If we move to this part, right? So essentially, that one-off day, as I said, that includes GSTs, a $935 day. Just a matter of booking a time, that suits you. I like to have another marketer involved because, essentially, not that I want to have them feel like they've got two bosses, but at the moment, there's an element I help them help you get the best out of your stuff, right? So, and then ultimately, and I'm finding that they're making me sharper and sharper, right? So anyway, so then it's just a matter of, this is kind of what we do. You ask that sort of question.
Yes.
So if we're doing 374 a month, we're basically posting on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Wednesday we're actually going in and doing a bit of ambush marketing, right? So in other words, you're telling us, I actually want to get to, and so we're like a few bigger real estate companies, right? We might even share something from one of those real estate companies across to your site. It might be something to do with census. I don't know, because let's face it, census kind of offer a little bit like what we do, but they put an extra zero on the end and they're not that good, right? So realistically, we're a lot more pointy, right? And that's not to say, look, if I were completely honest, by 2030, maybe they'll come and tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I want to do what we did for Danny, and we might buy you. Who knows? And I'll say, oh, if you take care of Anthony, maybe you can. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, the bottom line is we've got a pretty tried and trusted sort of process where we think, we get excited when we start with people. I'm not bullshitting you, right? We literally get excited because we think often in certain spaces they've been bled. Anthony and I are working with a guy at the moment who's a your property type investing types guy, right? And we've had to sort of move him from being this sort of way out there salesperson to say, mate, you've got to start to soften things, right? We've got to go relationship first and let's do this, right? And so we know that we could do the best from a social media marketing, but ultimately, if you're selling back on a website, we've got to make sure your website talks the talk as well, right? He's a brilliant learner. He's a brilliant listener. I'm not great. He's actually a much better listener than I am. But anyway, he's going, okay, shit, I'll do that. We'll do this, So there's all sorts of stuff, from particularly, as you were saying, around the website, oh, we could do that, we could do that. If you like, we're always happy just to, give our two bobs to the web person and just to make sure, because ultimately we want to all feel like winning, because at the end of the day, your web person then can say, oh, yeah, we worked with Danny on this project and it's now really doing well, kicking the goals that we wanted to kick. Yeah. Cool.
So how do we proceed? What do we do?
Yeah, so really just a matter of making a day. Usually for us, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays are our best project setup days. So it's just a matter of teeing up a time and telling us when you'd like to do that. So I got to look at. We talked about paper before. My first go-to is my paper diaries. So I make no apologies around that. But yeah, I could see that Tuesday the 2nd I could do. Thursday the 4th I could do, which is next week. But also being mindful that we got a public holiday on Monday, right?
Do we?
I think we do.
On the 8th.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne, don't we? On the 1st? It's the 8th. Oh, no, it's the 8th in Melbourne. Sorry, yeah, right. So Tuesday and Thursday next week I'm fine.
Monday I'm moving into my new office, so that won't happen. It'll have to be Tuesday.
Yep.
No, Thursday.
Well, what's your preference?
Yeah,
you want to settle into your office?
I want to get my developers to start putting some images in the background now. So I want to come back with, or should we just do some mock-ups and then we see?
I wouldn't be too concerned. So the main thing, we'll send you a checklist, right? The main two things that we're going to want in the first place is what do we want to do is our first banner image. And as you said, that might be the banner image that you're going to mock up with somebody on your web team or graphic design or whoever's doing that for you. So just decide what banner image you think is a good starting banner image for you, right? And we'll put that on all of your social media. But I'd also recommend it's the first image that you put behind that search thing as well, right? Yep. And so we'll give you a checklist, right? So in actual fact, so
what's a banner image? Can you show me what that is?
Yeah. So when I say banner image,
so it's like the thing that I had where it says reverse search anything.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about banner image, so on your where's your here? So on your social media, oh no, not that one. Hang on. This one, right? So all of them have banner images, even YouTube, right? The only one that doesn't have a banner image is Instagram. Instagram's the only one that doesn't have a banner image, right?
So you're talking about for social media, not our website.
No, I'm talking about your website as well, because what you should have is that banner image should look. So what I'm thinking is that I don't want to have. I want to have the image that you're going to put potentially behind this image. Does that make sense? You know, on your website, the website, you've got this, right?
Yeah.
There must be a way that you could put a picture behind it.
You can put one behind, which is a lighter image.
Exactly. So. And so that's the image I'd love to have to use across all your socials. Yeah. So people immediately go, oh, yes, it's the same mob. That's exactly the same, right? Because we can't use this sort of image on your socials, whether it's your cover or otherwise, because depending on what you're looking at on your mobile and stuff like that, just looks shit. Stuff that looks good on print and that sort of thing just doesn't look good on social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but then in terms of having a stock library of imagery, well, we could talk about that on the day. You know, as I said, there's ways we could probably find that.
What was that website you brought up?
Unsplash. Splash.com. Yeah, Unsplash. And there's another one too, but we actually even in the scheduler we use, Hootsuite actually has one. I think it's Pixels maybe.
Oh yeah, that's Google.
That's another one. Yeah, that you can use.
Oh, cool.
And look, if worse comes to worse, even that animated video, we could even take little screenshots or stills of that, right? If at times, but as I said, real imagery works a lot better, right?
The animated videos are all flat images, so they're a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're getting a bit old.
Anyway, I'm thinking there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you, and I think
I'll do something exciting. There's no problem with that.
But yeah, no. After today, in fact, probably by the end of today, what we do, Danny, is we'll send you. Firstly, we'll do a calendar invite. So you know what I might do? In fact, I'll stop sharing. What I might do? Do you want to just test at the bottom of your computer? You'll see there's a share button next to Mike. Just want to test that you can share from your laptop there.
Yeah, man. I can choose which one I want to share.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. There's a couple of click-throughs. There you go.
Yeah.
So we know it's going to be happy days.
Beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, and all you do is you tap.
Shit.
Yeah, you just tap on it and open a different tab up the top. Go up the top and click on the top tab.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then you don't have that anymore. You just come
see
back
my
to
stuff there.
Yeah, that's it. So that's it. So that's all you do, and we just talk that through. Right. Yeah. So that looks like it'd be a happy day. So. What sort of time do you want to do? A sort of 9:30 type start or a 9:15 start Tuesday?
It'd probably be about. Can you do a 10?
Oh yeah, 10's fine. 10
look, I should be able to do. I should be able to do a 9:15.
No, 10 o'clock's fine. All I make sure now is I've got time to do the school drop off if I have to. That's all I was saying. So if 10 o'clock suits you better. It'll basically finish up being from 10 o'clock to probably 3:30. We'll allow time just to, have a bite to eat or something like that and have a couple of breaks all the way through. If you do get calls that you need to, I don't know, Danny, if you're the sort of – we have certain ones where we almost feel like a bit of a good luck charm, but if you do have business calls or things you need to make, you can always sort of do that on the day. It doesn't blot you out altogether. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can still if you've still got things to look at and do, then you can still do that by all means.
All right.
Cool.
So I guess we need that session because I need to tell you what our pipeline is also.
Yeah. Look, that session, as you said, realistically, remembering what we're going to be doing. Is that the planning session? So we're using a web to social strategy. As you improve your strategy and you line up your different you sound very similar to your property investing. So it's actually Anthony knows this language, right? So we marry up to what you want us to marry up to. So don't worry about that, right? So you might have all sorts of different funnels and how you're going to do it. It's not going to change really because what we're going to be saying often is, okay, Danny, where's that on your website? Okay, you're talking about real estate now. Where do I find that? So where does Anthony find that?
Yeah, correct.
So where can we shine? Where can we find it to share? Because we want you to get the benefit of search and social, right? Because if you put the detail, even if it's a blog or as you were talking before about testimony, if we put it on your website, you get that benefit of search, and then social media. If we use a repurposing strategy, it's not here today, gone tomorrow. We can always do it over and over, right? Like we can always go back and find that information. Yeah, so that's why we do it that way.
Just show you something.
Sure, yeah.
Let's see. Don't know if I'm going to be able to find it now. And when you want it, you can't find it.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, look, in the next session, I'll show you what I've mocked up for the site because I wanted to do a white label for real estate, but they told me no, just include it in the same one. So I need to see, because really, ID for me is about connecting with people. That's really what it's about.
Yeah. So what you could do when you get the checklist. So basically that'll come. So we use a thing called Basecamp, right? So Basecamp's just a project management software, right? So we'll send you a checklist, but it'll also send you an email, right? So, but once you've signed into that, all you then do is you reply to the checklist email and say, "Oh, Steve, this is what I was trying to show you the other day. Here's the dev site or whatever it is. Here's the picture I'm thinking of using as the banner. What do you reckon?" That you can always come back. And as I said, in that checklist, you just read through that. You might sort of say, because mainly it's about, as I said, we know we've got the logo we want to use. That's just the logo you're using on the website. We just need to determine what picture we want to go with for your covers. And then the other main thing is just make sure you can get into the ones you actually do have already, right? So make sure you do have access to so the only ones that have a password, just so you know, is Instagram. In fact, in your current business, because we're going to have to set up Twitter, it's only Twitter and Instagram that have a shared password, right? Okay. Everything else, you as Danny are the owner manager, right, or the admin.
I just put you guys
and you just add Anthony or Steve as an admin, right? So that's right. So you just need to make sure you get in, but we put that in the checklist, and we make sure you don't need to panic around that either, because generally speaking, all we need to know is that you've given it some thought. I think I'm going to be all right, because passwords on the day can be a bit of a pain, but it's more your individual password, right? So just make sure you can log into LinkedIn. Make sure you can log into your YouTube channel, for instance.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Just someone later.
I told you that happened.
Right, so once we do this session on Thursday, pay the money whenever it is, and then just when do we start? When is the timeline to sort of start posting and getting things?
Are we doing Tuesday or Thursday? Tuesday, yeah. Anthony does it on Wednesday.
Okay.
What we try and do with your first post is we'll probably make your first post on Wednesday as the post we have in mind to advertise, which will probably be that video post, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, Anthony, we start the next day. So although normally Wednesday would be an engagement day, we wouldn't do that next week. In lieu of doing engagement, we just basically make sure everything's tidy, and Anthony would do the post that we have in mind to promote, right? Yeah.
So your Dify logo is on everything as our promotions agent, or
no, we're invisible.
It's not.
No, we're invisible. Okay. No. We're just
we're behind the scenes, mate.
Not at all. For goodness sake, jeepers. Now the only time we do it is basically when we're happy and you're happy. I do a little blog that says, "Oh, it was fun working with Danny. Look how good he looks now, and look how." So that's the only time.
Mate, if you can get that engagement up, with LinkedIn, we will make an absolute killing. I already know.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident you will as well. So particularly depending on, we're no smoke and mirrors here, mate. Though.
Just to give you an example, yesterday I bought 7.5 million records with people's name, date of birth, but it's got over 1 million employment details on it, right? That's a message that I would want to get out to my industry.
Yeah.
So I use MailChimp for my subscribers. I just send them an email with what's new, whatever.
Yeah.
And then as of the 1st, we're picking up about 1 million records plus about 400,000 records a month where people have spoken to somebody. So a call centre is giving us all their data.
Yeah. What's the best way to share that? Do you reckon? So in terms of that sort of information, so you do a MailChimp to let people know that you've done that. Is that something that we could also? Would that become an ID for me?
Look, it's brilliant
emailer?
because ID for me right now is static data where you can do a social profile link up or whatever. But with the new stuff that we're getting is basically saying we spoke to Steve Hubbard on the 24th of April. He answered his phone. This is his mobile. This is his so on and so forth. So you can't hide from people.
Yeah.
So the industry is just going to lap it up.
Yeah, feeling a bit scared, but at least it sounds like I'm on the right side. All right.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not me that's scared. It's more probably my wife. In terms of I'm the one that's already pretty public. She's the one that likes to go incognito.
What I was trying to say is when you've got a company that you're working with and they've got new products coming on board, how do you promote that?
Well, if you've got the product, so again, I'm assuming, so you've only got I don't know, you may well have more than one business, but basically we go, Tony, okay, where's that product
it is the one business.
Website? Yeah, that's right. So where's your product? Don't be telling us. And, so ultimately, similarly, what I was thinking there, it sounded like, depending on how you feel, I mean, you probably do a good job of it. But if you're wearing the ID for me merch and you're talking to camera and someone's interviewing you or whatever it might well be, you're just telling people, you might want to look at something along those lines. But again, we just tell you, put that on as a video blog on your website.
Yeah, I agree.
So again, if that's something you want to do, we could talk to people around, we can put you in touch with people around that sort of stuff.
So I can do what you're doing there. You've got your hat on, you've got your background, and I can say, everyone, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're doing this week.
Yeah.
We've
I do none of that.
Dify as our social media
I don't do it for
experts.
my own company much. If people want to talk, if people want to interview me and do it for them, I'm not big on that, but some people like it as a strategy. But we have put in a couple of people recently, including Tony, who's your property investing guy. He sort of spoke with a lady called Yana, and she just helps really make the video look spick, so just gives people that confidence and how they should do it to make sure it looks professional, because otherwise, and I will get you to have a look at Tony, because there is some similarities, right? Not because, as I said, we're having to straighten Tony up. I don't think he's different to what you're doing, but he is one that you might want to have a look at, because we are having to explain to him, well, social media marketing, it's marketing at the end of the day. We'll do a lot of the heavy lifting, but ultimately it's you that needs to sell the thing, right? And so that's what we have to sort of, and Tony's probably been, someone else has probably come to Tony and saying, well, no, we're going to sell you this and you're going to get this much millions. And Tony's bought into that until he then exited and said, no, you guys are ripping me off and you're not doing anything for me, right? So,
mate, I sued someone for 90 grand and got my money back through Amex, an SEO company.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, so that's the thing. So that's good. Well, hopefully
I wouldn't spend a cent after what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So they promised me, for $6,000 a month or $7,000 a month, they promised me all this stuff, and nothing happened. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I realised that they were ghosting my websites and everything.
Yeah, right. I've heard
fake. So I got all that evidence, and I got my money back.
Yeah. Well, I guess our pricing probably shows it straight away anyway, and I'd like to think our values and the way that we go through the process straight away.
That's great.
We don't. I don't do kind of bullshit well, and I think I've got a pretty good radar for it. But yeah, ultimately, we just want to give you every opportunity that we can.
You're actually what I was looking for. That's why when I spoke to that other girl, it was a LinkedIn contact.
Yeah, right.
I just said, I need someone to post for my businesses. My business, and I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, and it's whoever that other girl was. We appreciate the fact that she pointed you our way, because you're well and truly in our ballpark of people we like to work with, right? Yep. So good stuff. I'm excited.
All right,
makes my weekend look a lot better.
Send me the invite.
Yep.
And also how you want to be paid. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we'll do all that. Don't worry. We make sure we still, whilst we don't bludgeon people, we still want to get paid. Don't worry about that. Cheapest. Yeah. We don't want to.
And also on that day on Tuesday, you'll tell me how to put the $5 on and all that.
I know we'll do that. So we do that with you.
Oh,
right?
You do it all. Oh, good. Yeah.
We do that with you. There's nothing. Yeah. So basically,
I give them my credit card, don't I? Google.
Yeah. Not Google, Facebook, but Facebook you do. Yeah. So
okay.
And realistically, it's more the fact is we don't want people to get, because Facebook's a bit of a bastard, right? In terms of, and they're probably listening to this, but anyway, in terms of particularly being scared, there's probably people that got high tech stuff. But the reality is, the default often they'll set on your ad spend is way more than you want to spend. That's the first thing, right? So, so often the default will be $25 a day, right? And not just that, they'll put it out to the whole globe. They don't care. So, so realistically, what we want to try and do is say, well, actually, you probably don't need to spend that much, and you definitely don't need that target audience, right? You need to bring it right down. Yeah. So you'll have fun. I mean, you'll enjoy somebody like yourself who's kind of got the technology.
I've got other businesses too, so let's see how this goes because I've got other businesses also.
Sweet. Awesome, Danny. And it sounds like you got some good people that are going to look after entertainment too. So me and Anthony don't mind getting along to the occasional sporting and racing gig. Just we're not going to come along to anything to do with Collingwood. That's all.
As long as there's beer and there's a good time, we're there. It's all good.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, gents. I'll get onto these changes that I need to make now. So.
Yeah, don't get too busy, but we'll get you a checklist by the end of the day, and Anthony will do a calendar
checklist so I can start working on it. That way I can get my developers over the weekend by Tuesday to have something up.
Yeah, I'll get Anthony to do the calendar invite for us, and I'll do the checklist. How's that sound?
Done.
Perfect.
Thanks.